is Bedrock for What You Dream Of on BBC Radio 6 Music. This is Electric Ladyland with me, Nemone, and I am chuffed now that we could catch up with one John Digweed. Welcome to 6 Music.
Hi, how you doing?
Really good, really good. I know that you're in the midst of a very hectic summer, so how's it been? Highlights so far? Any for you?
It's all been pretty good so far. I played for Carl Cox at one of his Revolution dates, which was incredible at Space. That's the last year he's going to be there. I just got back from Romania. I did the Untold Festival, which was fantastic. And I mean, so far so good. Lots of amazing festivals around the world, great club gigs. You know, I can't complain. The diary's been busy and just lots and lots going on. Well,
we'll get into a record and then we'll find out more about the mind behind the man we know as John Digweed. You've chosen a great hookup between Michael Mayer and Agoria to kick us off with. Finished Ladyland with it recently as well. Tell me more about how you came across the record and what it is that you like about Blackbird Has Spoken.
I mean, obviously a massive fan of both producers. I mean, Michael just has a real knack to make tracks that just work on the dance floor, just has elements in there that are catchy but current sounding. You know, he's got a very good ear for his production, and the same with Agoria as well. He stands out as a fantastic producer that makes records that work so well on the dance floor, but also when you transfer them back to the radio or listening at home, they're fantastic. And I think that's the key to producers that make better than great club tracks, and I think that's what I like about Michael Mayer. You can have his stuff on at any time of the day or in a club and it does the job.
And here it is, Michael Mayer and Agoria, Blackbird Has Spoken. More from John Digweed on the other side of this. it is a cracking record, that, isn't it? I love it as well.
Yeah, fantastic.
So that is Blackbird Has Spoken. John Digweed has chosen to kick us off with that absolutely beautiful record, and like you say, working equally as well on the dance floor and listening at home and hearing it on the radio. And we'll come more to kind of current music and what you're up to, but let's rewind to the beginning for a moment and talk me through how you first got into music, sort of DJing and making tunes, but what sort of first caught the bug for you?
I was very lucky that my parents had a family business, and one of the guys that worked there was flatmates with the local DJ, and he used to pass on cassettes of this DJ in the club. And it wasn't one of those talky DJs, it was constant music, and he was buying a lot of imports from America, so it was all these tracks that I'd never heard on the radio. I had no idea, who these acts were, but I just loved the fact that there was this continuous music for the entire cassette, and I was just fascinated by it. And I was lucky enough when I was about 13, they took me down to the club and showed me the setup, and this was during the day, not when it was open.
Yeah.
But I went into the DJ booth and just looked out, and I was just like, this is it. This is what I want to do. So from that moment onwards, that's all I ever wanted to do.
That is amazing.
So yeah, I mean, I just really focused on that. Schoolwork kind of went out the window, but I knew I had a destiny, and I wasn't sure how I was going to get there, but I just focused every moment I could to try and find the latest records, work to get those records, and hook up with as many of the local DJs as I could to try and gain as much knowledge, get a chance to play in the clubs, doing the early warm-up sets, and just generally getting to know the business inside out, from running clubs, managing bars and everything, to the whole aspect of promoting and that side of things. So I really did start from the ground up and work my way through Clubland, really.
There's no sort of replacement for that, is there? If you've sort of grown up a bit alongside that, and then you get an introduction like that, and you see that space and kind of feel the hairs on the back of your neck stand up or whatever when you're standing in the DJ booth, and then it must have been every bit of pocket money you ever had went into buying tracks.
And I think also when I actually did start to get some gigs and then became resident, I even became the youngest DJ to play at that club, and that was the biggest club in my hometown of Hastings. You had to play the whole night. There was no guest DJs. You were there at 8 o'clock making sure the sound system was all set up right, and you had to check the sound system at the end of the night as well, because obviously if a speaker was blown, it was no good finding that out the next night. So literally when all the people had left the club, you'd then have to go around, check all the lights, check all the sound system.
This is the glamorous end.
Yeah, so, but I love that aspect. I think it's made me who I am. It's defined me as a DJ, because I understand the workings of a night from the very first person that walks in to the last person that leaves. Yeah,
you kind of felt the entire sort of atmosphere throughout that night. We'll come on to sort of epic 8 to 10 to 11 hour sets, and maybe the stamina was set early doors for you to be able to do that. We'll come on to that a bit later, but we'll move to the Tiga track that you've chosen. I mean, this is lovely, Blondes Have More Fun, and you've chosen the Jonas Rothman edit of this. Why this track, John?
I just did a 2-week tour of Argentina, and one of the gigs was in Cordoba, and it's a huge party, just under 5,000 people. And I'd just been sent that record, and I was kind of listening to it on the headphones, and I was like, I'm not sure, does this work, doesn't it? And there's nothing better than going with your gut instinct and just playing something, even though you're not sure if it's going to work or not, but you think, well, there's 5,000 people here, what can go wrong? And
brave.
And you play it, and you're going, let's go along, and then it goes to that breakdown, and the place just went crazy. So, Jonas has delivered an epic mix. I think that record is going to work so well on radio as well. For this section of the show, I've tried to choose stuff that is not just heads down 4 in the morning nightclub music. I've tried to think of some tracks that I think just work well all round, and this is one of them.
Go with you.
That is Tiga. Blondes Have More Fun, the Jonas Rothman edit, as chosen by my guest on Electric Ladyland right now. I'm so thrilled. It's John Digweed. So we talked a bit about how you got into clubs and there from the very beginning and sort of set your stall out quite early doors. From those sort of early days for you, how different a scene is it from then to now? I mean, dance music, it's just kind of exploded. It's a global enterprise now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is, back then, we didn't know if it was going to last another year. It was like, this is going to happen again next year. Oh, this is kind of cool. Because it had never happened before. Yeah. There was no rule book. There was no, well, this is where it goes after that. Promoters were just running with whatever was going on. I mean, it was a very unusual time. Some of the most successful promoters have been some of the ones that have come on afterwards that have kind of learnt from other people's mistakes, because they saw how people had brilliant ideas but then couldn't execute them on the business side of things. And it's a shame that things do need to have a business side to them, because I always think what Tony Wilson and the Hacienda, I thought that was a brilliant way of running a club. Go with your gut instinct. If you lose money on it, it doesn't matter. You know, you're doing things because it feels right.
Absolutely.
And I think now there's a bit more of a P&L spreadsheet that's laid out before people put on parties. But I did like the kind of chaos of the initial early acid house and rave party days, because no one really was running it like a business, to be honest. It was just, let's have a party and you know
and see what happens.
Let's see what happens. An amazing time to be part of, whereas now I think everything is a bit more polished. The DJs that come through, it's, you know, they're straight into management, straight into getting tracks produced. You know, you can go from your bedroom to headlining festivals in a very short space of time if you're marketed, you've got the talent with production, and you get good management behind you. So it's a lot more of a quicker route than maybe back in the day, where you'd have to slug it round the whole of the UK up and down the M1 for a few years before people actually started to recognise you. I mean, social media has played such a massive part in furthering DJs' careers in a shorter space of time than anything back in the day with mixtapes and word of mouth.
Yeah. Have you got your record bags that you used to lug your vinyl around in?
Yeah, I've still got them. I've still got all my records. I've still got loads of flyers from that period. I'm a bit of a hoarder, I'm afraid.
Yeah, the kids' toys moved aside for the vinyl as it still kind of takes pride of place. Well, I mean, you were one of the first to hold a global residency in New York at the end of the 90s. You did Twilo with Sasha. How practical were those kind of things like that? I mean, talk us through what it was like. I think did you play the final Friday in the month or something like that at Twilo? Yeah,
basically, Northern Exposure came out in 96, and as part of that, we did kind of a worldwide tour where we went to South Africa, Singapore, Asia, Australia, and then we ended up doing about 10 dates in the States, and one of the shows was in New York at Twilo, and up until that point they were only open on a Saturday with Junior Vasquez, and New York really was determined by, you know, Danny Tenaglia Jr., Jonathan Peters. There wasn't a lot of European DJs playing there, and especially the sound that Sasha myself was playing, which is a kind of very European. It's hard to explain. We had influences from loads of places, but we packaged it in our own kind of sound. I mean, you would call it maybe progressive, but it did have influences of, you know, like the Morales Def mixes, Masters at Work, but also with that very European sound as well. And we did just one party there, and it went incredibly well. And I was talking to the owner, and he was going, "Oh, we had an amazing reaction. It went really well. Would love to get you back." And, you know, I said, "Oh, you know, we should, you know, I'd love to come and play there regularly." And I can't remember how it all came about, but we just started talking about playing every month. And it was one of those things where I don't think people thought it was going to work, because no one had been there and done anything like that before. And in 5 years we were there, and it just got better and better and better. And I think because it wasn't part of social media, it grew organically, word of mouth. It was just one of those things that each month got better and better. It wasn't the first time we did it, the club was super packed, but it was just every month it just got better and better, and then people just started to travel, and it became a go-to destination, not only from people from America, but people from Europe and from the UK and from the rest of the world. They suddenly started hearing about this club that we play for 12 hours, had the best sound system in the world, and it's in New York. I mean, it doesn't get any better. You're kind of like, well, I can tie this in with a shopping trip and a sightseeing and go out and hear more hours of music of, my favourite DJs. It was definitely some of the best clubbing experiences of my life. I never got tired of getting on that plane at Heathrow and going to New York. There's something about when you land in JFK, you're just buzzing. There's an energy there that just, I'm getting a few tingles on my arms now just talking about it, because it was just an amazing experience to be thinking, I'm going to New York every month to go and play in the best club in the world. I'm sold.
Sounds amazing. John Digweed, more from you on the other side of this gorgeous record, Lost Desert and Lee Burridge, featuring Junior. This is Lingala now on Six Music.
Lay low. Di man ka pasi, di man ka posa na yo, ikulela na ka, oh. Di man ka na yo. No key. Pusanayo. Utimananga kulila. Utimananga kum. Utimananga kum. Utimananga kum. Soni nako yokate, shoki nako lela yo. Hola kisinganzela, ya mutima na yo. Lakisanganzela ya mutima, lakisanganzela ya mutima na yo, lakisanganzela ya mutima na yo, lakisanganzela ya mutima na yo. La leli, soni na kuyoka, soni na kuyoka te, na kuyoka te, soni na kuyoka. Soni na kuyokate, utimananga kulila, utimananga kuyimba, utimananga kukimba, utimananga kuyimba, utimananga kukimba, utimananga kuyimba.
That record has such a lovely Balearic feel to it. My guest John Digweed chose that. Why that record, John? The Lost Desert and Lee Burridge record?
Lee just passed it on to me about a week ago, and I heard it and I just thought, wow, perfect summer record. It's a great record to be playing at this time of year, and fair play to Lee. Is All Day Our Dream Parties are doing incredibly well around the world, and his label, so it's nice to see him doing what he's passionate about and it doing so well.
Oh yeah, he's often crops up on Electric Ladyland. Lovely Burridge. So on the subject of labels, how did you hook up with Nick Muir to begin with, who's often the other half of your production output? And then we'll come to Bedrock.
That meeting took place through a mutual friend. I'd been working abroad and there was a guy I met on this trip, and I stayed in contact with him, and I was DJing at Rage at Heaven on Thursday nights, and he got in touch and said, look, I'd like to come down and see you on Thursday, but I've got a friend who makes some music. I'd be interested to meet you. So I'm down there playing, and he passed through a record that he'd made, and the next week he came back and said, what did you think of the record? And I was kind of like, well, it was okay, it's not something I'd play. And he said, well, do you fancy coming up to the studio and maybe having a mess around and seeing if we can come up with something? So I was like, sure. So I went up to the studio, we had a mess around, and the first record we did was For What You Dream Of. So that was not a bad way to start off your production career.
A fairly useful meeting of musical minds. I mean, that is incredible, isn't it? It just shows you that you might as well ask somebody if in that situation.
Yeah, and it was just a casual, why don't you come down? And I was kind of like, I mean, at that point, I hadn't really thought about it. And I thought, well, I've got nothing to lose. I'll go up to the studio with Nick and see what he's doing and everything else. But, he's an incredible musician, so talented, great producer, engineer, and an all-round lovely guy as well. And you'll find him on the middle of the dance floor at any given Bedrock party since that day to this day in time. And, he loves the music, He loves the scene, and I think that shows an important part of it as well. He's not someone that's just locked up in the studio but doesn't really know what's going on out there on the dance floor.
And to start the label between you, was that just a kind of natural part of working together and making the music?
The actual label came later on, because at that time we were getting signed to various labels, and then there comes a period when you just think, well, actually I think we can do this better ourselves. We can have more control when it goes out, who we get to remix stuff. And that was just a kind of natural progression a few years later on. So, you know, I'm incredibly proud of the label. We're coming up to 18 years, which is pretty crazy.
It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah, 18, that's brilliant.
We're nearly legal.
Yeah.
So
only nearly, John, not quite. And you're still making music together and still remixing together. So talk us through the impetus to kind of remix Secret Knowledge, because we'll play it now, but this track, Sugar Daddy, first came out, it's 96, isn't it?
I think it was 93, actually.
93, crikey.
Yes. As part of my Live In albums, I'd played it on the Live in Miami compilation, and I just love it. It's one of those records I can remember hearing Pete Tong play it for the first time and just being transfixed for the entire time it was on. It was like, wow, this record's incredible. And then it coming through as a promo, and just thinking, this is an incredible record, because it's kind of techno but with a incredible vocal over the top,
melodic. Yeah, exactly. It sort of mashes up the two together. And you guys, well, you've done an edit for this year. We're going to play it now. We'll come on to the Live In series, which is doing incredibly well. And then, as you mentioned, Northern Exposure, a little birthday of its own this year. So more from my guest, John Digweed, after this. His edit alongside Nick Muir of Secret Knowledge and Sugar Daddy now on Six Music.
Did you miss me? control of you.
Electric Ladyland.
So it was A Little Creek Behind the House and Gabriel Ananda on Six Music. John, that made the list. Why particularly?
It's just another one of those kind of quirky, bouncy, uplifting, feel-good factor records which you just play. It was huge for me in Argentina last couple of weeks. And it's just one of those, you just drop it and you just think this puts a smile on everyone's face. Sometimes it can all get a bit serious on the dance floor, and it's nice to have those occasional records that just change the mood completely. Yeah. And it's nice to have a little bit of a bouncy, smiley record.
Definitely, agreed. So you mentioned the live-in CDs. Am I right? It's the 8th one that came out in February, and that's the latest, isn't it? The Live in Montreal. Biggest yet, 6 discs compared to usually 3 or 4. Recorded October last year at Stereo, which is renowned for after parties and marathon sets. How much truth to the fact that you played 11 hours that night?
Well, it's completely true, because the actual Live in Montreal, we did the finale as well, which was the additional 3 CDs. So if you get the complete package, it's 9 CDs to roll out. So I played 11 hours. So that's a pretty special night. It's a great club. It's the closest thing I can find to Twilo, if I'm honest. At the moment, the sound system is pretty close, and the room has that same kind of vibe. And people in Montreal just don't seem to want to go to bed.
I can hear that. 11 hours, crikey, that's amazing.
But if you enjoy DJing, there shouldn't be a time limit on it. I mean, I love playing music that I love to people that want to hear it. So if it takes me 11 hours, then that's what it takes, you know.
Well, I mean, I having dallied with endurance sports in my checkered past and the triathlon stuff, I mean, I know it is a bit about endurance as well, because you're standing for 11 hours. That's no mean feat physically and mentally to do that, despite loving it.
Yeah, because I've done it for many, many years, I don't find it that... Yeah. I only find it hard if I don't feel like the crowd is into it, then it feels like a long time. But I started at 2 in the morning, and I remember looking at my watch and it was 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm thinking, where's that gone? I don't even...
That's amazing.
So it just went by incredibly fast.
And I guess you get the energy back from the crowd, don't you? So it sort of ebbs and flows. I mean, do you sketch out a set like that, or have a kind of vague idea of where it's going? I mean, it can't be every record, obviously, but...
No, not really. I mean, I think it's kind of one of those things where, I mean, the set starts with about 30 minutes of ambient and just kind of down-tempo stuff. And I don't often get a chance to play those records, because I think if I've turned up at a festival and started playing ambient records for the first half an hour, I'd get... people would leave. So it's nice when you're actually doing start to finish. You can start where you want.
We'll come on to Northern Exposure in just a moment. Play Guy Gerber for you now. What?
You were supposed to kill my dad, not the old cripple.
Nessun report? Non c'è.
appreciate the opportunity. You got 2 days, and I'm sending the Undertaker. Yes, sir.
So, John Digweed, the Full Circle track from Guy Gerber, another producer I love as well, made the list. For you, somebody that you've been across for a while, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, massive fan of Guy's productions, his DJing as well. I mean, we were very lucky to sign a track by him called Stoppage Time, which was huge, you know, and been a huge fan of him since that day and long after. He just seems to have a really great knack of creating grooves and melodies that just lock you in. It's proper heads down, serious music, but with just nice wobbly bass lines and synths that just send shivers up your back. So he definitely knows how to strike the right chord, for want of a better word.
Yeah, no, he's got those wobbly bass lines down. A treat. So Northern Exposure first came out is 1996. That's 20 years old this year. Wow. I mean, any ideas at the time when you guys made that, you and Sasha, that it would endure this long and, you know, still find audiences today?
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that people still talk about that album with such fond memories is what makes it all worthwhile, really. I mean, Sasha and myself actually started the Northern Exposure nights to do kind of open to close sets in like 94, because we'd hooked up at Renaissance and then started doing our own nights, and we called it Northern Exposure, and it was the idea of like, well, we'll go in and we'll control the night from start to finish. And the night just kind of blossomed and everything else, and then the idea of a compilation album was talked about. But we didn't want to do something that was kind of following up from the mix collection. We wanted to obviously try and do something a little bit different, so that's why there's that kind of ambient stroke lush breakbeats kind of vibe of the first CD, which I think took a lot of people and caught a lot of people off guard. They weren't expecting that. I think they were expecting, you know, another double CD of
full on Renaissance mode. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And we didn't deliver that, and I can remember at the time, like DJ Magazine gave us 0 out of 10, and we got looking at the reviews, going, "Wow, you know, have we missed the point here?" You know, we both believed in those records. We thought these are an incredible collection of tracks, but as it went on, more and more people just got turned around, and actually, the amount of times it's been voted as, you know, in the top 10 of the best compilation albums,
seminal work of the time.
Yeah, so I think sometimes it's good to stick your neck out and try something different, because if we'd have just done the same, maybe that album wouldn't have had the lasting power of what the original one we did has had. And I think that's testament to the quality of the tracks that we chose, but also the direction that we decided to do at the time, and try and do something which, you know, you put it on at home after an after party and be like, wow, what are these records? It was the first time we'd been able to use Logic in the studio to actually put a mix together, so that allowed us to be really creative in terms of long running mixes, loops, edits, effects, stuff like that, which had never been done before on an album. So
you were playing, weren't you, with kind of pushing what you could actually create?
Yeah, I think that's why those records just seem to melt into it, because if you try to do that with 2 records and a mixer, it wouldn't have the same effect. So it really did allow us to do something really creative with the music and mix it in a way that had never been done before. And I think that's why when you listen back to it now, you think, wow, this was, you know, really ahead of its time for what was being released around that period.
So Frankie Sandrino and Hydro there on Six Music. We're nearing the end, John Digweed. I almost don't want to let you go. You come back and see us again, please, and visit. We'll spend some more time. But I can't let you go without talking about the new collaboration. So this is you and Nick again, Nick Muir and Underworld's Darren Emerson. How did you come round to Fanfare? I'm about to play it, but talk us through sort of the gestation of it.
I mean, I've been friends with Darren for many, many years, and it's always kind of one of those things where, you know, you'll have conversations that when you bump into each other at an airport, at a gig, and it was kind of one of those things where it's like, oh, we should do a track together, and it was, well, let's do something, you know, send over a few ideas. And Darren sent over the baseline idea, and then we were sending stuff back, and it was just kind of a process of going back and forth for quite a few months until we ended up with something that was we were all really happy with. So it's coming out in October, but it's nice. I love Darren. He's got such great energy about him. He's such a lovely guy and so talented as a producer and a DJ. So, you know, huge fan of Underworld and everything he achieved with that, but also his solo stuff. He's been making some great tracks as well. So it's a real honour to be working alongside him on a project.
John, well, we'll hear it now. It's been a pleasure to welcome you to Six Music. Thank you very much for that brief whistle-stop tour through the career of John Digweed and the record collection as it stands at the moment. We will get you back. We'll get you in the mix on the show when we can. And tons of luck with everything. 20th anniversary of Northern Exposure, everything you're doing with Bedrock, and the next live-in CD. Oh, yeah, and with that in mind, where is it? Do you know?
I never actually plan where they're going to come from. I record all my sets, and if it's a good one, then we release it. So I think that's the most natural way of doing it. If you said, oh, it's going to be in New York, and then you go there and the gig doesn't quite...
Then you got the... Yeah, exactly. Oh.
Then you've still got to put it out. So nothing is ever pre-planned. Everything's recorded, and then when it's a good one, we go, right, we'll release that. So it's
as organic as that.
Yeah.
Who knows? We could be there for the recording of the next one. Thank you very much, John Digweed.
Thank you very much for having me on the show. I appreciate it. Thank you.